a client. She's a Launchpad member, and now I consider her to be a very good friend of mine. Her name is Lynda Lieberman-Baker. She is a highly experienced facilitator, trainer. She has been called a PowerPoint guru. I expect fabulous slides. And one of the very impressive things about her is how she is concentrating her job search on networking with very key people in a number of different agencies. She's tapping into all of her resources through associations and friends and lots of things like that. And she recently talked to the director of a state agency who said that he would take her resume and send it to the executive directors of 3 other state agencies. And so it's really working her network successfully. So I'm not going to delay anymore. Lynda Baker.
I'm going to do the rock star approach. So how many of you have ever conducted an interview to hire somebody? Okay, thank you. How many of you have ever been interviewed? How many of you are not sure whether or not? Okay, well, we've got something for all of you. I want to, first of all, express my appreciation to Kathy for inviting me to speak and to work with you today. Just by way of introduction, I know that your time is valuable, and coming here is a big investment of your time. It's like, okay, I can check off my unemployment, click, or I've got to do something today, or this has been a pretty good use of my time before. And for those newbies that are here, that would be probably some people sitting over here, it's like, well, I'll check this out. But I want to make sure that the next hour-ish is a good use of your time, and I'm going to do my best to make that happen. By way of introduction, I worked for about 20 plus years as a meeting facilitator. So what I'm really good at is setting something up and then getting out of the way and letting other people talk to one another. Because oftentimes when somebody's standing in front of a room, people really would like to hear from the other people in the room more than they want to hear from the person in. Not always. I mean, you know, clearly if I was Bill Gates, you may want to hear what I have to say, or lots of other people, or the president of some country. But I'm neither Bill Gates or the president of any country, so very quickly we're going to move into communicating with one another. But we're going to be communicating with one another about something that's pretty important to all of us. And I have such good gremlins here to take care of me. This is really great. I'm going to talk about, and let's see how skilled I am at this. It worked. We're going to talk about sort of, well, what are we going to talk about? What is that up on the screen? What does it look like to anybody? It's a sunrise, it's a horizon. What else do you see in the picture? It's a road, okay? So this is a metaphor. So it's a road, and many of you have taken a road to get to where you are. I don't mean Airport Boulevard. I mean, in a metaphorical way, you've all taken a path to where you are, like right now. What do you notice along that road?
Not a whole lot there.
Not a whole lot there. But that's not true for all of us. That's not true for any of us. There's a lot that's been along the path. But sometimes, if I can use the overused phrase, we don't always stop to, what is the expression? You don't stop to do what?
Smell the roses.
Smell the roses. Or, in our case, we don't necessarily stop to notice some, what were you saying? Some smaller things, some finer things. And in the context of looking for a job, what are some of the things that we don't necessarily stop to take a look at in our past that, if we looked at, might be helpful to us, like today? What might be some things that would be helpful for us to know about our past as we think about looking for a job today or in the future?
Our skills.
Our skills, our accomplishments, what we know, what we can do. So how many of you have applied for a state or federal job ever? And they often look for, thank you, they often look for, how many of you have never applied for a job? Have you ever, I'm not sure. We know that in applying for state and federal jobs, they're looking for some things, oftentimes they're called KSAs. Any sign language people here? KSA, right. Okay, so what does that stand for? Anybody know?
Knowledge, skills, and abilities.
Knowledge, skills, and abilities. Now, we're going to talk today about knowledge. Basically, what do you know? That's basically what we're talking about. Information that you have, things that are in your brain, a body of knowledge. I think that's a project management phrase, right? The PMBOK, isn't that what, any PMBOK people here? Good, was that right? Did I get that right about project management? Okay, so that's the project management body of knowledge. What do they know? And then skills are skills you have, how you manipulate data, and we say manipulate people in only the most positive way. And you can learn skills. You can develop skills and learn them. And they could be techniques, processes, methods. And then notice how this word isn't abilities. I use the word attributes. Anybody have a clue why I may have chosen to talk about abilities today instead of, well, I've chosen to talk about attributes, excuse me, rather than abilities? What do you think? What do you think in the back?
I think because abilities are, it's kind of a, I don't like the word, it seems really like judgmental in some way, but attributes is something that's inherent, it's part of your makeup.
So I like the example that, so I'm going to repeat what she said so it gets on the recording. She said, because abilities are kind of, isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
They're kind of,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
which is not sign language. I think it could be kind of mushy.
Yeah.
And she said that attributes are more like what?
They're inherent as part
They're
of
inherent, they're part of you. The reason why I'm choosing to use this, actually right on to that description, is that what's the difference between an ability and a skill? Notice a little bit of a deadpan answer. Sometimes it's hard to make that distinction. If you're applying for a federal or state job, you might want to look at that distinction. But for the purposes of today, I want you to think about those personal qualities and talents that you have, the values, the kind of things that when people meet you, they say, wow, she's got really great energy. Or they say she's wearing 2 pairs of glasses. I almost wore 2 pairs of glasses on my head to channel Kathy in this presentation. But it messed up my coif, so I decided not to. So, attributes, they make us feel good. So, I want to emphasize again, knowledge is what you know about. So here are some examples of knowledge, and I don't know if this mic is going to go all the way to the slides, to the flip chart. So I'm going to put the mic down and try to project. Should we try? It does go to the flip charts. So what's an example of some knowledge? Does it go all the way? I didn't test this. I can do this because I am a yoga practitioner.
Oh, I can write for you. Do you want someone to write?
I have volunteers. I can get Kathy to be my Vanna. And I know she can do this. So, an example. What are some things that you know? Anybody? Somebody must know something in this room. What's an example of something you know, of knowledge? You're looking for a job, you want to be able to say, I know what?
Excel.
Pardon?
Excel.
Excel. I know Excel. I may know the principles of Excel. I may know all the functions in Excel. What's something else you know?
I know how to herd cats.
I know how to herd cats. There's always an opportunity for cat herding. And up in front, grammar. I know the laws of grammar. I know the principles of grammar. Pardon?
More and more a lost skill.
More and more some things that people don't know, and therefore when they try to use the skill of writing, they're not very effective. Other knowledge. Your studies, and what's an example of something you studied? Business, so you might know about business. So those are good examples, business, about things that you know. What about skills? We talk about skills. That's the kind of stuff that you can do. So that's great that you know about grammar. Can you write a sentence? Can you use spreadsheets? I know Excel, but can I perform those functions? Design websites. I have a colleague here who used to do websites at AMD. He's a really nice guy, if you know anybody. He'll tell us later what you're looking for. So, what else are things that you can do? What are some skills? What are some skills that you have? Yes, in the back.
I can teach and evaluate.
I can teach and evaluate. So teaching is a skill, evaluating, and evaluating what? Evaluating students, evaluating curriculum, evaluating performance. Lots of people like people who can evaluate a lot of things. Evaluating job candidates. What else are some skills that any of you have? Organizing skills. Are those handy skills to have? Yeah. Something else from the... I'm a team player, so a skill would be team collaboration. I'm a good collaborating. Ooh, excuse me, well, it just tripped me right up that. So usually skills, they don't always, you can say prioritizing, planning, developing. Usually if it's an ing word, that kind of speaks to what you're doing. So that's a good skill idea. And another one?
Well, I was going to say that herding cats is a skill. I mean,
Herding cats is a skill, but you need to know some things about herding cats. Like you need to know if they have fur balls. You need to know certain things about cats in order to be able to then herd them.
whether it's faculty or managers or whatever, yeah.
One more example of a skill. Drive, did you say?
Yes.
Driving would be a skill. And lastly, attributes. So when we talk about attributes, these are the kind of things that people say, you know, Ben is the kind of guy who's really reliable. Or Chad is somebody who's trustworthy. I really love working with Sylvia because she's a big picture thinker. What are some attributes that you either have or admire in other people or maybe aspire to? What's some examples of some attributes? Listener, a really good listener. Now listening could be, there's certain things about listening, like not interrupting. I just have to say that that's one of my favorite things about interrupting. People say, if you're interrupting, you're not listening. In my ethnic group, if you're not interrupting, you're not engaged. You're not paying attention. You're not in the conversation. So you have to agree on what important words mean. But that's another thing. You have to understand, that's knowledge, knowing cultural differences. Skill might be pausing so that you can pay attention. And then an attribute might be you are adaptable. I've had to become adaptable because I'm not from around here and I've had to try to fit in. So adaptable is a good skill. I mean a good attribute. What's one more example of an attribute? What was that? Ethical? Self-starter. So as you look at those knowledge, skills, and attributes up there, if you were interviewing someone or you were describing yourself, you look pretty good. But maybe you haven't stopped to smell the flowers or the coffee or kind of drink the Kool-Aid of who you are. So we're going to spend some time today really focusing on you. And if you are not interested in being in a participatory activity with the people sitting next to you, you can very quietly slip away right now because you're going to be required to do that. You will not be required to speak to the entire group. But I am going to ask you to team up with a little group of 3 people. So that means you need to find 2 people sitting close to you. And I want to make sure that each one of you has, and Jamie, would you hold up that card, please? Each one of you have a little card that looks like that. Did everybody get a card that looks like that? If you did not, raise your hand and Jamie can come around and get you a card. And a pencil. And on the very top, there's a little space where you can write your name. Okay, some people in the orchestra seats, if you need a pencil or a card, I want you to team up with two people near you and determine whose birthday comes earliest in the year. And when you've determined that, I want you to raise your hand like this. When you have you're in a team of 3. If you're in a team of 3 and the one person decides whose birthday comes first, I want you to just raise your hand. Okay, can I have your attention, please? Okay, folks, this is the part where this is not the participatory part. We're not participating yet. We're just breaking into a team. Just calm down. I'm now going to give you instructions. I know you're excited about talking to one another, and I'm going to give you some structure to do that. If it is your turn, so the first person whose their birthday comes first, they will go first. And then the second birthday, and then the third. Okay, so when it's your turn, you're it. Okay? When you are it, do you need a pencil? When you are it, I want you to think about a time, preferably in a job experience, where you were what? Could you read those words, please? Where you were what, Scott?
When I was excited,
And what else?
happy, exhilarated, grateful,
And-
energized,
And
enthusiastic.
something that really, when you woke up in the morning, you really wanted to get out of bed because you had this experience. So when you went to bed that night, you thought, wow, I had a great... Think about a job experience like that. I'm not going to ask you to share it with the large group. Can you think of an experience in any job that you felt that way? If you can think that way, just nod your head so I kind of see a few bobbing heads. If you cannot, think about an experience in life. Maybe it was remodeling your kitchen, whatever it is. I want you to think about a time when you were really jazzed. Now, if you are describing your experience, and we're going to ask you to describe that experience for about 3 minutes. We're going to give you to tell your experience. You're the two people. You can use the 5 W's like you would if you were a reporter, the who, what, when, where, and why. Talk about what made it a great experience, why it was particularly exciting to you, what was particularly important about it, and what difference it made. Now, if you may just go on for 3 minutes and it may just be easy. You might think 3 minutes, can I talk for 3 minutes? Or you may think 3 minutes, I could tell you about this for an hour. You're going to have 3 minutes. But you can take the card and the pencil with you and do this again at home. Now, the reporter, if you have someone who doesn't seem to really be giving you the information that you think that would help, you might want to prompt them. Tell me more, what else can you tell us? What did you do? What did you do, or why did you do it that way? What's another question you could ask to kind of draw information out? What's right with you? Have you done that anywhere else? Okay. Okay, here's the recorder's job. That's where the cards come in. I want you to decide which one of you is the recorder, and the birthday first person will hand off their card to the recorder. And during the person talking, now they have a card, you're going to have their card, and their name is going to be on the top. And as they talk about their knowledge and attributes, just record them in those clouds down there, because those are foundational. What they know and who they are, that's going to tell you foundational things. They're kind of out there in the clouds, but not so much, because they're part of it. And then I want you to drop around the sun skills. So, your job is to give the card to, okay, now birthday person number 1, raise your hands. Who's the first person? Who's birthday person number 2? Okay, birthday number 2, you are the recorder. Give your card to birthday person number 2, recorder. And the last person, who's birthday person number 3, you're the reporter. You could take a nap if the person, no, you want to talk. You want to listen, I mean. So when the person's telling their story, the recorder may need some help. You can say, capture that, this is a skill. So I want you to draw out from what they say, knowledge, attributes, and skills. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, Brett, can you put the timer on, please? So I'm going to review quickly what knowledge, skills, and abilities are. Don't worry, it's a PSA, so it's only 30 seconds. And I'll tell you the process improvement. The process improvement is the next round. We're going to do 3 minutes to tell your story, and then just a 1-minute debrief, and move on to the next person. Attributes are the qualities. You might want to jot that down. Qualities that best describe you. So think of attributes as qualities, skills as what you can do, the ing words, and knowledge is stuff that you know. So what you know, what you can do, and qualities. Question?
Can we go back to the list of things that started with excited, happy,
Oh, how do you tell your story?
Correct.
You know what? You can think about what gets you jazzed, what you got jazzed about, what you felt good about. If you had to think of your favorite job, what did you do in your favorite job? Or if you had to think about, I got home from work today and I remembered a great experience at work. Or frankly, it really is just what motivates you. Because usually if you can talk about something that you really felt good about, it's going to shine a light on what your knowledge is, what your skills are, and what your attributes are. So anything that you're excited about, or even a job that you found that you said, oh my gosh, I really want this job. Okay, maybe you don't wake up every morning with that experience. Lately, I can definitely relate to that. But, okay, so you got the idea? Okay, we're going to switch back to the timer. The next person has 3 minutes to tell their story. Now that you know the drill, there'll be a 1-minute debrief. So, 3 minutes, next person, go. Okay. Aren't you an interesting group? So I just want to ask for a couple of quick report outs. First of all, how many of you did not get an opportunity to tell your story? Did anybody not get an opportunity to tell your story? Okay. If you did not get an opportunity to tell your story, and are there 3 people, any people here who did not get a chance? First of all, if you were on a team of 3, there's no reason why you didn't get a chance, unless the people on your team are not very collaborative, which we will discuss with them after the meeting. You can try this activity at home in a SWAT team with anybody. So you can do this again with other people, and you can take the card. There are more cards if you want another experience, and I have plenty of golf pencils that I want you to take as souvenirs. I want you to think about how looking for a job, you should also think about enjoying yourself by playing golf or something else that you might enjoy. So let's just get a sense of what people said in the groups. Can anybody say some of the knowledge that you heard on your team? You don't have to point it out and say, Sylvia knows this, and this. We're not going to embarrass Sylvia in front of the whole group. We'll just embarrass her in this section. No. So what are some things you learned about people around you knew? What's some knowledge you picked up? What did they know? Anything? They know how to run a small business. What else? Circuit board design. Who would have thunk we had a circuit board designer in our midst? What else? What did they know? Somebody knows how to build drones in this room. What was it over here? They know about art. Art, not arc. They know how to build arcs. In Texas, we have not had a great need for arcs, but I'm sure somewhere, Onion Creek, it could, every so often there's a flood. What about some of the attributes, those qualities? What did you hear about attributes in your teams? Persistence. Persistence, a lot of you persistent. Actually, you showed up here, that's a good example right there, you're persistent. Other things, honesty, creativity, manipulating in a good way. Do you have one on the tip of your tongue? You were just chewing. What? Collaboration, humility. So, yes. Integrator. You know, one of the things that you can say, those attributes, when you think, well, how could I use that in an interview? Well, I'm like a really motivating, blah, blah, blah. You could say all these things and you think, gosh, am I really bragging on myself? And how might you be able to get some of those skills, those attributes across without sounding like a bragster? It could be in a story. What else could you do? You could say, this is where LinkedIn has come in real handy for me. I can say things like, well, you know, several of my LinkedIn recommendations cite me for X. I didn't say I was X. They said I was X. I often say, you know, I may not be a great mom and I may not be a great spouse, but I know I'm a good facilitator because other people tell me that. So it sounds very humble when you say it's other people. And that is true, by the way. My husband almost came today, and I probably would not have used that line if he were here. What about skill? What are some of the skills you heard your colleagues share? Listening, programming, balancing a budget, public speaking, delegation, reading schematics, spelling schematics would be a skill. Leadership. Why do you think skills are particularly important to be able to talk about and write about in seeking a job? What is it about skills that make them unique among all of the things we've talked about this morning? Yes?
That's what's going to get your job. And if you can't get that information across, they don't know you have it. You don't get
So that's going to get you the job is what our colleagues say. What's your name?
Don.
That's what Don says. That's going to get you the job. Why is it that that is going to get you the job, that that's the linchpin? What is it about skills? It tells what you can contribute. That was Rodney. Told us it tells what you can contribute. Yes?
It brings value to the company.
It brings value to the company. All of those things show you what you can contribute. All of them get you the job. All of you bring value. What is it about skills uniquely? What do they say? There's a word that people use for describing skills that make them particularly relevant in job searching. And they are what kind of skills? Where is that? What's your name? Jeremy said they are transferable. So when you look at this job description and it has all these different things and you think, can I do that? Well, I never did that. I didn't do that. But I do have this skill. And there is a universe of skills that can be transferred from one job to the next. So that's why I made sure that you had lots of room to list those skills. And if you didn't necessarily capture all those skills from your colleagues, you can write some skills on here on your own. You will not be marked down for having extra skills on here that your colleagues didn't necessarily list. But the last thing I want to ask you to do with your colleagues is in the center of the sun, write 2 to 3 words that describe this person based on what you just heard them tell. Based on when you look at this card, what are 2 to 3 words that sum up this person? A energetic grammarian. That would be 2 words. A trustworthy schematic reader, speller. Okay, so 2 to 3 words. I want each one of you in your teams quickly to come up with 2 to 3 words that summarize this card right in the middle on that sun. That's going to give this piece of paper some energy to describe that person. 2 to 3 words. I'll give you a minute for that activity. Go. Okay, can I just get a couple of examples? What is 1 or 2? Let's have 3 examples from the room. What did you come up with as descriptors from your colleagues? A creative problem solver, So that person's leaving today with a kind of a little title. That could be your, title on your LinkedIn profile, I guess. What's another one? An organized team leader. And a third one?
The great connector.
A bridge connector.
Or the great connector.
Pardon?
The great connector.
A great connector. Could also be a bridge connector, or just a connector. Or a schematic connector. No, probably not. Okay, so if someone were to ask you, so what is that launchpad thing? What did you do with that launchpad thing today? What's one thing you would tell them? What did you do this morning? I learned about myself. Networked. Pardon? You did what? Oh, I learned how to improve my LinkedIn profile. Anything else? I learned how to think differently about myself. And you know what? I think that I want to close with that. I'd like to close with that closing line. If what you left today with, thinking differently about yourself, in a good way, of course, in an introspective way, that's what I wanted you to leave with. I wanted you to all leave with an opportunity to get to know yourselves and get to know other people a little bit better, so that you have the tools available to you to be able to write about, talk about, and demonstrate the knowledge, skills, and attributes that you have that are going to make you an amazing employee to some organization that's lucky enough to hire you. So thank you very much for your attention this morning.